The ocean at night is supposed to be the darkest place on Earth. Without the moon, the water turns into a black void that merges with the sky. You cannot tell where the waves end and the stars begin. It is an abyss. But sometimes, in the lonely stretches of the Indian Ocean or the waters near Indonesia, the rules break. The black water turns white. Not a flash of bioluminescence from a dolphin kicking up algae, and not the brief sparkle of a breaking wave. This is different. This is a steady, solid, ghostly glow that stretches from horizon to horizon. It looks like the ship has suddenly sailed off the edge of the world and landed in a field of snow. For centuries, sailors whispered about this. They called it the Milky Sea. In the old logs of merchant vessels and pirate ships, captains wrote about water that looked like milk or clouds or molten lead. They described a light so bright you could read a book on the deck at midnight. But it didn't come from the sky, it came from below. For a long time, science dismissed these stories. They were filed away with mermaids, sea serpents, and the kraken. Just hallucinations of tired, scurvy-ridden sailors who had been at sea too long. The ocean doesn't just turn into a light bulb the size of a country. That is biologically impossible. But the ocean loves to prove humans wrong. In 1995, a British merchant vessel called the SS Lima was cutting through the waters off the coast of Somalia. The night was clear. The stars were out. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a change. The water wasn't black anymore. The captain and the crew looked over the rail. They weren't looking at water, they were looking at light. A soft, eerie, green-white luminescence that didn't sparkle or flash. It just glowed. It was constant. The ship sailed through this glowing soup for 6 hours. Based on the speed of the ship, that meant the patch of light was over 150 miles long. This wasn't a hallucination. It was a bacterial event of biblical proportions. To understand the Milky Sea, one has to understand the smallest life forms in the ocean, bacteria. Specifically, a nasty little guy called Vibrio harvae. These bacteria are everywhere. They are floating in the water right now. Usually, they are alone, drifting aimlessly, minding their own business. When they are alone, they are dark. They save their energy. But these bacteria have a superpower. It is called quorum sensing. It is a biological internet. They can talk to each other chemically. They send out a signal, a chemical text message that says, "I am here." When the population density gets high enough, when billions and trillions of them get pushed together by currents or a bloom of algae, the concentration of that chemical signal hits a tipping point. It triggers a switch in their DNA. Suddenly, they all agree to do the same thing at the exact same time. They turn on the lights. It is a flash mob on a molecular level. One bacterium glowing is invisible to the human eye, but put a billion of them in a teaspoon of water and you get a lamp. Now imagine a patch of ocean that is 6,000 square miles. Imagine a layer of water thick with these bacteria. The math is terrifying. We are talking about numbers that don't have names. Trillions upon trillions of living organisms screaming in light, creating a structure so massive it can be seen from orbit. That is the smoking gun. In 2005, scientists decided to check the satellite imagery from the night the SS Lima saw the glow. They looked at the archives of the Defense Meteorological Satellite Program. These are military satellites designed to look for clouds at night using moonlight. And there it was. On the grainy images, in the middle of the dark ocean, was a massive glowing smear. It looked like a continent of light. It was bigger than the state of Connecticut. It had been glowing for 3 nights straight. The satellite confirmed the sailors were right. The ocean does turn into milk. But why? Nature doesn't waste energy. Making light is expensive. It costs calories. Why would a bacterium burn its fuel to glow in the middle of nowhere? The leading theory is wonderfully twisted. It is the eat me hypothesis. In the open ocean, sinking is death. If a bacterium sinks to the bottom, it dies in the cold mud. It wants to stay near the surface, or better yet, it wants to be inside a warm, nutrient-rich environment. The best place for a bacterium to live is inside the gut of a fish. A fish gut is a paradise. It's warm, it's full of food, and it's safe, so the bacteria glow to attract a predator. They light up the ocean like a neon sign that says, "Free buffet." They want the fish to see the massive cloud of light, swim over, and swallow the water. They're lighting a beacon to call their own taxi ride into a stomach. But the Milky Sea is more than just a survival strategy. It is a psychological hazard. Imagine being on a small boat in the middle of this. The horizon disappears. Usually, sailors use the horizon line, the separation between the Black Sea and the starry sky, to orient themselves. In a Milky Sea, the water is glowing and the sky is dark. Or sometimes the glow reflects off the clouds, making the sky glow too. The world becomes a featureless sphere of light. Pilots flying over these phenomena have reported severe vertigo. They can't tell up from down. Sea captains report a feeling of floating in space. The water doesn't look like liquid, it looks like a cloud bank. The bow wave of the ship doesn't crash, it slices through the glow like a knife through thick cream. It is silent, beautiful, and utterly terrifying. It removes the one thing humans rely on to feel safe at sea, the visual stability of the world. The texture of the water seems to change. It isn't just a surface layer. The glow comes from depth. It feels thick. This is the soup concept. The ocean is not just water with some fish in it. It's a broth, a living, breathing, eating, dying broth. When the conditions are right, maybe a change in temperature, a monsoon current bringing nutrients, or a massive algae bloom dying off, the broth boils over. The bacteria explode in population. The Milky Sea effect reminds us that the Earth is not a static rock. It is a physiology. It has pulses. It has fevers. A glowing patch of ocean the size of a country is like a rash on the skin of the planet. It shows us that the microscopic world runs the show. We think whales are the giants of the ocean, but the total biomass of bacteria in the sea outweighs the whales by a massive margin. They are the true kings. They just usually keep the lights off. There's also a connection to the climate. These events seem to happen more often in the Indian Ocean, linked to the monsoons. As the ocean warms, as currents shift, will we see more of them? Will the seas become brighter? A glowing ocean sounds magical, like something out of the movie Avatar, but it signifies an imbalance. It means the system is overloaded with nutrients. It's a bloom, and usually, after a boom, comes a bust. When those trillions of bacteria die, they consume all the oxygen in the water. The Milky Sea might be beautiful, but it could leave a dead zone in its wake, a suffocation event hidden by a light show. We've only investigated a Milky Sea with a research vessel once or twice. They're hard to catch. You can't predict them. You just have to be there when the switch flips. By the time a satellite sees it and the ship can get there, it might be gone. The bacteria disperse, the quorum sensing breaks, the chemical text message says, "Party's over," and the ocean goes black again. But for those few nights, the ocean becomes a mirror of the galaxy. The Milky Way in the sky looks down at the Milky Sea below. It creates a seamless universe where gravity feels like a suggestion. It's a moment where the biological power of the planet is fully visible. Think about the sheer coordination. Trillions of separate organisms acting as one unit. It challenges the definition of an individual. Is the Milky Sea a collection of bacteria, or is it one single, massive, glowing entity? If you look at it from space, it looks like one thing. It behaves like one thing. It's a reminder that the lines we draw between life forms are blurry. The narrative closes with the view from the deck of a lonely boat. The engine hums. The wake behind the boat isn't white foam. It's a dark scar cutting through the glowing sheet. The sailor looks over the side. The light is so bright it illuminates the hull. It illuminates his face. He feels like an intruder in a private conversation. The ocean is talking to itself in a language of light that we are only just beginning to decode. It is beautiful, yes, but it's also a display of raw power. A reminder that if the smallest things in the world decide to work together, they can change the appearance of the entire planet. The Milky Sea is the ghost in the machine, the evidence that the water is alive, watching and waiting for the right moment to turn on the lights.